Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory release, also Epic Evolution. This time we have the all-out Attack Tyrannosaurus Rex, and this is a figure that I don't know about. I'm just really unsure. I don't know if I've really been looking forward to this one or how I feel about it quite yet, but I will say, at first glance here in person in the packaging, it looks pretty cool. It's a very, very different sculpt compared to any Mattel Tyrannosaurus we've had previously. Like, the entire figure has been redone. Everything about it is different. The skin texture is very different than what you usually see on a Jurassic-style T-Rex. I don't know if maybe there's a new T-Rex in the show that kind of features this look, or if this is just some sort of a brand new sculpt just to kind of mix things up from Mattel. But either way, the Rex is very different overall when it comes to the sculpt. You can see the packaging of this one is actually pretty cool. I really like the fact that they've given you like this little cardboard area here where the T-Rex is sort of smashing down into. And normally I would wait till later to activate the action feature, but I'm kind of intrigued to see if the action feature looks like it's smashing into that, because I sort of feel like that would be the case. So let's go ahead and just give it a go one time real quick. There's the button right there. Well, not much happened, honestly. Oh, I had to push it further. Okay, I see. Ah, I gotta hold it in. I see it now. Nope, maybe not. Okay, so the action feature is kind of cool, aside from the growing teeth, which I hate. But, I like how it's just kind of smashing down into that. This is one of those figures where it would be really fun to just keep it in the original packaging. And maybe at some point I'll see one on clearance and I'll be able to grab it in the original packaging. I don't think I'd spend $50 again on this figure twice just to have one in packaging, but that is pretty cool. I actually really quite like the fact that Mattel included that in the overall packaging display, and you can see down there on the underside there are like warning signs and stuff as well. So my guess is that would have something to do with chaos theory, but who really knows in this day and age. If you turn the box around, you can see we've got a really cool shot of the T-Rex here on the back. You can also see over here two different images of the head sculpt and the teeth growing. And then down here, we've got a shot of some of the other figures that are coming out from Mattel, including, of course, that Beckel Spinax, which I am very, very excited about, but in general, I'm pretty hyped for all of them. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and pop this box open and we'll check it out. So on a plus side, when it comes to this figure, it has that kind of packaging where you can pull open the bottom to unhook it, so you could still keep the packaging, and since the Rex is already assembled in the packaging fully with the tail on, you could still display it in the packaging if you wanted to, so I guess rebuying one isn't absolutely necessary just to keep it in the packaging. And then here is our Tyrannosaurus Rex, and let's readjust the camera here. There you go, you can now see it. Of course, it is currently displayed with its head down. Let's bring the head back up a little bit. And now the camera's not facing it correctly. I put the dinosaur up way too high. There we go. So there's our Rex. I like this pose better than the other pose, that's for sure, but either way, it's still kind of cool and has, that sort of Jurassic Park T-Rex head sculpt, but obviously it's very different, very exaggerated overall compared to what you usually see with a Mattel Tyrannosaurus, so that's pretty intriguing right out of the gate. I also will say I like the paintwork. Of course, in typical Mattel fashion, we could have used more running out onto the tail, but it doesn't look super out of place without the paint on the tail because the figure is, the paintwork is so blended into the body. Like, it's not a super obvious patterning or anything moving down, so it doesn't look incredibly out of place with the lack of paint on the tail, but it definitely could have been better had it used that. The arms, I will say, are pretty big for some reason on this, like even larger than a normal Mattel Tyrannosaurus. But overall, the figure does look kind of cool, so let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the T-Rex, you can see again it has that Mattel-like look, but very different at the same time, and it's kind of confusing to explain it that way. but it definitely has the look of being a Jurassic Park T-Rex and the look of a Mattel T-Rex, but there's definitely some major differences, like the entire shape of the snout is different compared to previous Mattel releases. The skin texture is also very different. You can see it's much bumpier looking scale detail that we have on this one, like almost like just overloaded with osteoderms. Even up here on the top of the head, the skin texture is so rough and rugged looking and just so different compared to any Mattel Tyrannosaurus that we've had in the past. You can see the nostrils sculpted out right there. You can also see that as far as coloration goes, we have a nice variation of a brown, kind of similar to previous Mattel Tyrannosaurs. And then we've got a darker brown there around the eye. That darker brown also leads up here through the palate area, and you can see the eyes painted with a nice yellow, given a black pupil, also sports a gloss coat, which is pretty nice. We do, of course, have an articulated jaw for the T-Rex, but for the most part it works with the action feature. However, you can see it's both the upper and lower jaw that can articulate, and you can actually open the mouth and display the Rex in sort of an action pose with the mouth open without those teeth extending, which is a huge plus, because I think the Rex doesn't look half bad when it's like this. It's just once those teeth grow out, it looks horrendous. But you can see the teeth are, actually still pretty big even on the lower jaw here, but they're nicer sculpted, I think, than some previous Rex's teeth because they have kind of a genuine sharp look, though I am not really a big fan of the fact that they're all sculpted together and they are only like right here in this little area, so there are some downsides overall to this one, but I get what they're doing. It's supposed to be the Tyrannosaurus evolving, hence the epic evolution name, so whatever. I mean, it's something that kids will probably enjoy. You can see the tongue sculpted out there on the inside of the mouth is pretty decent. It's also painted with a nice pinkish tone. And if we look on the inside of the mouth on the upper side as well, again, pinkish tones galore in here, runs the entire way on the upper side of the mouth. The teeth on the upper side do look pretty good right now. They're all sculpted individually and painted with a nice kind of like a light yellowish tone. They have a genuine sharp look to them because they are that nice flexible material like we often see on newer Mattel figures. So that's a huge plus as far as this figure goes. And then of course we saw earlier on how the teeth extend down during the action feature, which I'm not a big fan of, but it is what it is. As you lead along the back of the neck, you can see again the very, very bumpy skin texture that we have on this T-Rex. You can also start to see this dark brown show up, and it's just splattered all over the back of the Rex. Like, it's not any sort of rhyme or reason to the overall patterning or anything. It's just kind of splattered on the back, and I think it looks pretty nice because rather than looking like actual patterning, like, it just kind of blends with the figure and gives a color variation. So I am a pretty big fan of the way that they painted it with the dark browns there moving along the back. It just looks really nice in comparison to the, overall brown of the body as well. As you lead down the neck, you can see some nice skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff. You can also see the throat itself. We pick up a yellowish tone, like a light yellowish tone here, moving down. The skin texture is very strange for the underside of this Rex as well. As you can see, it's mostly just like lines and creases and stuff moving down. Very interesting skin texture. That's actually kind of strange. But as you continue to move down into the body, you see again that nice looking skin texture with the bumpy scales just popping up pretty much everywhere. And especially up here on the back. Like, it is a very, very bumpy skin texture that we've got going on up here. And again, we continue to have that dark brown just kind of patterning and designing through. As you lead down into the arms, you can see what I was saying earlier when I said the arms just seem a bit larger than normal to me, and they're very muscular, that's for sure. As you lead down into the fingers, you can see the fingers look okay, kind of have like a scoot-like appearance moving down the fingers, but not really. And we have the nails sculpted out but unpainted, unfortunately. But they look pretty decent as far as the actual sculpt goes. Like, they have almost that genuine sharp look to them, which is a plus. Obviously, we have more articulation in the neck, which is part of the action feature, but here in the arm, you can see we have the articulation forward and back with the arms, and they move out away from the body. So, pretty nice updated articulation that we have going on for the Rex. I know we've had that in the past, but it's nice to see them continue to do that. But as you lead down here into the stomach region, you can see some more skin folds and skin wrinkles in front of the thigh. As you move back up, you can see a little bit more when it comes to the skin wrinkles right there. Leading back here into the back of the dinosaur, you can again see the button there for the action feature, but you can also see that dark brown start to disappear, and once you lead out toward the tail, it is then gone completely. However, when you move down through the thigh, you can see the dark brown picks back up and does show up here in the thigh moving down, but it does disappear before you ever reach the knee. You can also see, though, the muscle definition is nicely displayed in the thigh. You can see the knee right there nicely elaborated, nice big calf muscle as well as you move down, and again, how nice and vibrant the scale detail looks. Even though it's very different compared to your average Mattel Rex when it comes to skin texture, it does look really crisp on this figure, really pops overall on the sculpt. And then you lead down into the foot sculpt, and you've got some nicely sculpted toes, nice scoots running down the toes as well, which looks really good. And the nails are painted with a nice glossy, very dark grayish tone. But no surprise here, the dew claws have been skipped yet again. Shocker. But we do also have articulation in the leg. It's that very jerky style articulation where it just kind of jumps, but also kind of like trademark Mattel articulation. Doesn't seem like they move out away from the body at all, but you do still have the ankle swivels, which we've had for a very long time. As you lead back out here into the tail, you can see a few more skin folds right there as you lead up. You've got another area of articulation for the tail right here, so you can move the tail around a little bit, and left, right, up, down. It can swivel as well. Overall, the entire figure actually has a very impressive feel to it. Like, it's much heavier than a normal Mattel Rex is, and just kind of feels honestly like a higher quality than your average Mattel Rex, which is interesting. I don't know if they started a new material with these, or if maybe it's just because it has this action feature going on, so it has more, inside that they needed to operate that action feature and activate it, but the figure as a whole just feels heavier and higher quality than a normal Rex does from Mattel. But as you lead out into the tail, you can now see again, we have no paintwork on the tail, like at all. Nothing on the top, nothing on the underside. That yellowish tone disappears before we reach the tail. So you lead out the rest of the tail here. You have a nice curve to the tail, but no paintwork outside of the brownish tone of the primary body color. And you continue to have that very intriguing style of skin texture, that very bumpy, scaly look to the Rex, but again, also that same style of sculpt work to the skin texture of the underside, where it's just kind of smoothed out, but has like creases in it. And again, that's a little bit of a bummer, because even on your average Mattel Rex, they never seem to capture the underside of the Rex when it comes to the correct type of scale detail. They really haven't now on this newest version. But if we turn the Rex around, you're going to see pretty much the same thing. Of course, the head sculpt currently is sitting in an upward position because of the way I stopped the action feature. You lead down, you can see the arms and stuff right there. A little bulkiness right here to the throat, which is very interesting, almost making it look like it has an Adam's apple. And then you lead back, again, you can see a little bit more of the stomach on this side, which is nice, again, to get a better look at the skin texture and the way it appears. And again, the browns up there in the back. And then as you lead down, you can see the rear leg is pretty much the same as we saw on the other side, just extended back a little bit. Nicely sculpted foot over here. And then again, you lead out into the tail. We do also have the fax app code. If you would like to add this one to your collection, there you go. But overall, again, it's kind of 50-50 for me. I would definitely say sculpt-wise, the previous Mattel Tyrannosaurs were far nicer than this, but this one still has a few redeeming aspects about it. Like, I like the paintwork of it, and I really do quite like the higher quality feel of this one compared to the older ones. And then we'll go ahead and just give the action feature one more go. There, I was hoping to stop it where the teeth were extended, but I didn't quite get it. Oh, there they're extended a little bit. So you can see, it seems like whenever you just let it go, it'll stop at some point in that area of the Tyrannosaur moving its head and neck, so you can get it displayed with the ugly teeth out if you want. And that's not even full extension of the teeth. But I kind of like the movement of the neck. I would have preferred more, articulation for us to just pose it, but I do like this action feature because it is very different from the other Mattel Tyrannosaurs we've had, and since we've had so many with like standard articulation, like the extreme damage with nice neck articulation and stuff, and we've had so many other action features, it is nice to see that Mattel is still creating new action features for these figures. I feel like that's probably pretty tough to do after having so many Tyrannosaurs released. I just wish that it didn't have the growing teeth. That's the one thing that really takes away from this figure. However, on the opposite side of things, kids are really going to enjoy that because kids love goofy things like that. So I think that they knew what they were doing. They aimed this toward children, but also very clearly it's a very highly detailed sculpt that adult collectors as well can enjoy. We'll go ahead and do the action feature again just because I feel like we really haven't even, fully examined it quite yet. Trying to hear all the noises. Mostly sounds like it's like just growls rather than roars. Oh, there's the teeth. They were out for a minute there. And then we stopped. All right, well, as far as the size goes, it is going to be tough because I can't quite get the head to stay out in the right spot. We'll try to just stay there. Yeah, that'll work. I think that'll be okay. So as far as a size goes for the T-Rex, for a length from the snout to the tail, about 21.5 inches long or 54.5 centimeters. I don't know if you could really see that. Now, height, of course, is dependent on the way you have the head positioned. It could go a lot higher than it is currently, but right now where it's at, it's just shy of about 9 3/4 inches, or around the 24.5 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Tyrannosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect A Human Being next to our all-out Attack Tyrannosaurus from Mattel, and you can see in typical Mattel fashion, the T-Rex does sport a pretty nice size. Now I feel like we don't need too many comparisons this time around, but what we need to do is compare this with other Mattel Tyrannosaurs to really establish the size. So let's grab a few of those. So I think we'll probably only need 2 Tyrannosaurs to compare with this because I feel like we're going to figure the size out pretty quickly. First of all, we went with one of the smaller versions of Tyrannosaurs that Mattel has released with the extreme damage version here next to our all-out attack version, and very clearly the extreme damage version of the T-Rex is a good bit smaller. And in an attempt to actually show you without blocking the other Rex out, I have this one posed very interestingly, but we have the epic Roarin' T-Rex released again from Mattel next to our all-out attack version, and very much so these two are the same size. So if you're trying to figure out the size range that this Rex would be, it is in the size range of like the epic Roarin', probably like the Thrash and Throw size range. So it's like that next step up from Mattel Tyrannosaurs as far as the size range goes. That's where you'll find this new all-out attack version. And just because I know some people will ask for it, here is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. Obviously, this is a customized one next to the all-out attack T-Rex for one final comparison, showing you that the Hammond Collection T-Rex is definitely still a bit larger than what we get for the all-out attack version. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory Epic Evolution all-out attack Tyrannosaurus Rex, boy, what a name this one has, is kind of a mixed bag for me. You know, some parts of this Rex I really do like. I like the high quality feel of this. Like it just feels heavier, sturdier, and just like of a higher quality material. Kind of, that's the way I feel when it comes to this Rex. And I feel like once you get this one in hand, you'll be able to notice that too. The moment you take it out of the box, you're going to feel how much heavier and just better feeling this Rex is. Like I said, I don't know if they've updated the material or if maybe it just feels heavier because of whatever is included as far as like the mechanics inside to operate that action feature. Whatever it is, it definitely helps the Rex overall feel better and higher quality than previous Tyrannosaurs. However, once you move through the sculpt, if you look at this as being a Jurassic Park T-Rex, it's pretty bad. Like, actually really bad because it doesn't replicate a Jurassic Park T-Rex at all when it comes to the skin texture. It's very different from what we usually see. The underside is extremely different from what we usually see with a Jurassic Park T-Rex, and even the overall appearance looks a good bit off compared to older Mattel Tyrannosaurs, which I feel like even the older Mattel Tyrannosaurs weren't picture perfect when it comes to the sculpt, but they were a lot closer. Like, they pretty much had it down, whereas this new version has strayed in the opposite direction and now looks even further from a Jurassic Park T-Rex. It has the kind of likeness to a JP Rex. You can very clearly see, like, if this was just a toy made by a random company, I would for sure say it was based on a Jurassic Park T-Rex. But when it comes to actual screen accuracy, it definitely is a bit different from what you usually see. Now, I don't know if there is a new Rex in Chaos Theory that might resemble this one, so maybe that's why it looks that way. I guess we'll just have to wait until we see the show, and then maybe it'll make more sense, but either way, the overall appearance to this one is very different from older Tyrannosaurs from Mattel, but at the same time, it is nice to see them upgrade stuff once in a while, and they've recently upgraded the Spinosaurus, which we saw with the Epic Attack version, which hasn't released quite yet as far as I'm aware, but that one looks very different, but kind of, when it comes to the skin texture, similar to this. I don't know if maybe they have a new sculptor, or if they're just really revamping things when it comes to their sculpts, but the Rex here and that Spinosaurus, now that I think about it, kind of have a similar look and style. Of course, we've got articulation on this one as well, and it's pretty much the usual when it comes to Mattel articulation. We do have an action feature, which, you know, is kind of half cool. Like, I like the movement of the neck, and I like the chopping action feature it has. It kind of reminds me of like an old animatronic that you would have seen in like a museum or something. Like, if you, I recently made a video about the Gary Owens and Eric Boardman Dinosaur specials that came out, and in one of them, I think it was Dinosaurs, possibly? I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it was more dinosaurs. Either way, Eric Boardman is at a museum, and there are these really cool dinosaur animatronics. The movement of this kind of reminds me of the movement that you would see on those old animatronics. So I kind of like that, but I'm not a big fan of the growing teeth. I think the growing teeth is really ugly, and, you know, kids will enjoy it for sure. But as far as looking at this through the eyes of an adult collector, I am not a fan of that at all. The paintwork is pretty nice for it, for the most part. Of course, we could have used a little more paint out onto the tail. I could even excuse the missing paint of the nails on the hands and the dew claw if they would have just included more of that patterning with the darker brown out onto the tail. I still think it would have been a really nice painted figure. It's okay at this point, and I like the tones of color used, but the paint running out onto the tail is that one thing that really could have, you know, improved the overall appearance of this quite a bit. But as a whole, it's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, and is kind of a fun, very different style T-Rex from Mattel. So if you are interested, check your local Walmart, because that's where I found mine. It actually wasn't quite out yet, but I had somebody check the back for me, and they did have them back there, so they grabbed one for me. So they're beginning to show up at Walmarts across the United States. So if it's not out now, it should be soon, or you could, of course, ask the employee to see if they can look for it in the back. One way or another, pretty fun figure, just also a mixed bag as far as, you know, the overall figure goes. It's like kind of 50-50 here. It's like half cool but half weird. So again, if you are interested, check your local Walmart, grab it if you can, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.